Surratt sent me 2 shades of their new liquid artistique highlighter, and I wanted to play with them today. But I am not only going to show you that. I'm going to talk about all the Surratt stuff I have in my collection currently, and I'm going to reflect on it, tell you how much I actually use this product. If you missed it, if you weren't here last year, Surratt sent me a ton of product. I did a full brand review. I will link that in the cards over here for you if you want to check out detail reviews. This is not going to be as detailed as that video was, and also I'll be featuring less product here than I did in that video. Check that out after this video if you have more interest in Surratt product. But what I really wanted to do is unpack how much I actually use these products and under what circumstance and how much I like them now, because I think it's always a great idea to revisit your relationship with things. A lot of this that we're going to be putting on today, it was PR, but I also have purchased stuff from Surratt before, and since I received that PR, I already primed my face. I do not have a primer from Surratt, so I use the golden primer from Victoria Beckham all over the face, and then just on the nose I use the Sisley Blur Expert. For foundation today, we're going to be using the Surratt Dewdrop Foundation, so if you have any familiarity with Surratt, you'll know that this is not the packaging it comes in. I really hate the packaging. I've gotten a lot of questions about how I decanted this, so I'm going to tell you here. I don't have any footage, so you're going to have to use your ears if you can, or use subtitles if you can't hear me. I just bought an airless pump. You can buy it off of Amazon. If you're not familiar with the Dewdrop Foundation, this is what it comes in. It's this round container, and there's a dropper that you push to get the product out. And that's really hard to push, even as someone who is able-bodied. My dexterity is pretty good, and it takes a lot of effort for me to get product out of there. So if you do have any dexterity issues, it's kind of a no-go unless you're willing to decant it. See my other video for more on that, but it's a very infuriating thing. Someone did comment recently on my Surratt brand review that they are changing the packaging of it, but no one said anything to me about it. And I would say if they're going to say it to someone, they should say it to me, because I feel like I'm the one out here who's been lamenting that packaging for a very long time. If you're new here, the Surratt Dewdrop Foundation is my favorite foundation. I love it for so many reasons. That's why I'm willing to put up with the bad packaging. What I did is I just kind of put a funnel on the top of this nozzle, and what I did is I took an X-Acto knife and I cut off the dropper at the bottom. I took off the lid because I do think it airs, it's sealed, so you need the air coming through the top, and I just let it sit there for a bit. And then when I came back, I just took a small beauty spatula and just spatulaed the rest in, and spatulaed down whatever was in the funnel, and that's how I decanted it. I used an airless pump. The packaging of the Dewdrop Foundation does tell you to shake well. I haven't had any issues using an airless pump. That's what I did. As I just said, this is my favorite foundation. What I like about it is that it has this nice glowing finish. They say dew, but I think what we think of dew now and what we thought of dew whenever this product launched, and since I've even started using it, very different types of dew. I think that this gives you a nice glowy finish, not super, super dewy. It's a very light coverage foundation. I would say light to medium at most, and that's my preferred coverage level. I don't have a lot that I feel like I need to even out or need to cover. What I really like about it is that it gives me this skin filtering blur. My skin is on a Snapchat filter, not even a intense Snapchat filter, just it smooths out the skin. And that's exactly what I'm looking for out of a foundation. I've tried a lot of foundations in my day. I used to work at Sephora. I got a ton of foundations in gratis, and this is my favorite one. This current bottle, this was PR I received, but I had bought it 2 or 3 times before I got it from Surratt, and anytime they offer to send it to me, I take it. So sorry. But I would buy it again. It is my favorite foundation. It's my favorite foundation. I think it's worth all $75, in my personal opinion. If all those things sound good to you, you may want to try it. If you have a Nordstrom in your area, I think most Nordstrom counters carry it. So check it out. Since I've gotten it in this, 1 pump will usually do. I had to smell this. I used one of these brushes the other day, and it smelled like something that was very scented. I have shade 1.5 in this foundation right now, and I will say it's a little bit, well, it's when you see my shoulder, it doesn't look too light. The thing about the skin on my face is I have some redness and unevenness, and I think that redness, especially on camera, makes it look like my skin might be a little bit darker than I say it is. But when you compare it to that, now that I've got the redness on my face a lot under control, because it used to be really bad, the redness on my face. Not something that I think looked bad in real life, but it was definitely redness that you could see on camera, and that's always what I used to use as how much coverage does a foundation have. You can still see there's some freckles here. You can still see my face through it, and that's really what I'm looking for out of a foundation. This is ideal to me. In reflection, this is still a very good product. I use it a lot. In fact, I've recently fallen back in love with it. I just did a speed review of a bunch of foundations I was testing, and immediately after I got rid of all of those, I ran back to the Dewdrop foundation, and I'm just so glad I did. I have actually two formulas of concealers from Surratt. We'll talk about the one I'm not wearing first. This is the Surreal Skin, and I don't recommend this. It's a pretty light coverage concealer. I have the shade 2. Surratt's offerings as far as ranges is not great, but that's shade 2 right there. And there's only 10 shades in the concealers, both ranges of concealers. And I like kind of fall in between like the 1 and 2 shades. If you like the Glossier Stretch Concealer, I think that this is like the closest formula I've tried to that. However, this is much more expensive. You get much less product. I even in my initial video said, I really like this product, but I do not recommend it. But I do wear it on like lighter coverage days whenever I'm just wearing even the Glossier Skin Tint. I wear it with that quite a bit. It's actually my favorite pairing for what you're paying for amount of product, but not only that, the like experience of interacting with the product. Surratt's packaging is weird, and it's something that I complain about quite a bit. This is just plastic, and like even though there are different types of concealers, it's just like look at the size difference in these concealers. And then this is like their cream highlighter, which we'll talk about in a moment. This is like heavy, and I don't know if it's like made of metal, but it's not plastic. It's not like, it might be like a different acrylic or something. This is like cool to the touch, and this is just plastic. I don't know. I just think experience-wise and how much product you get, like this isn't worth it. Beautiful product. I really like it, but I'm really glad I received it in PR. It's not the concealer I use the most. We'll actually talk about the concealer I use most right now. So I have the Dewdrop concealer. They also sent this to me in PR when it launched last year. And I don't know if this made it to me in time for that video. I think it did. Like, I think if you watch the original video, like it's there. So I was sent shades 1 and 2. I have been told by friends that maybe shade 3 is the right shade for me. I can make shade 2 work on its own. Oftentimes I mix them just to use them up. I don't want to give them away because they're sponge tip applicators, which I don't love sponge tip applicators. This is not a Surratt specific thing. I just don't like it. I don't like it from any brand. I think it's kind of gross. And I could take them off, but I actually don't really super mind it in this packaging. There are other packaging from Surratt that I took the sponges off of. We'll talk about those in a bit. So here's what I like about this concealer. It's kind of the exact opposite of the Dewdrop foundation, which is kind of funny because the Dewdrop foundation is like so light coverage. These are a really, really, really thin formula, and they are highly, highly pigmented. They're a soft, matte concealer. So shade 1 is that really bright white one. And then over here, this is the shade 2. Like I said, I'll mix them. That's normally if I'm doing full glam, like if I'm going clubbing and I want my like a lot more brightness under my eyes, so like yeah, it looks better under the lights, I will use both. I'll mix both. Most of the time I'm just using 2. I will say I've not had to re-up on these, and if I would re-up on these, I would buy these again. If you watched any of my past 10 videos, if you watched my videos for any amount of time, you'll notice this is like the concealer that I'm always using. I'm not a concealer connoisseur, and that's why I'm always very specific when I talk about concealer, because I don't use a lot. My needs for concealer are very minimal. So take what I say with a grain of salt if you are someone who like does a lot of concealing. If you're just looking for a little bit under the eyes and you're looking for a very thin formula, I've not found a concealer that is crease proof, but this is the one that creases on me the least. And I think it's because of how thin the formula is. Whenever it does, you know, crease into the fold underneath my eye, it's just not as obvious, and it doesn't look as gross as like thicker formulas tend to. So I'm gonna take shade 2 and I'm just gonna dab it under the eye. Just a little bit. If I didn't like it, I would have bought something else at this point. If you happen to be new here, I keep my collection pretty tight. What I think is the best is really what stays. And we're gonna, even in a couple of weeks, really crack down on what that means in my makeup collection. So stick around if you like it to clutter, because I think we're gonna really get into it. I'm gonna just powder my under eyes real quick. I don't have any of Surratt's powders, and then we'll talk about blushes, but I'm only gonna powder the under eye because we're gonna be using a liquid blush today. Surratt has 2 different blush formulas. I have a couple of each formula. Surratt last year sent me 6 of their artistique powder blushes. I've kept 3 of them. The other 3 shades just were not my preference, and I knew I was going to keep them. When I talk about how much I use these, I actually like don't often use them. And you want to know why? It's because all 3 of them are in there, and I don't think of them as their own individual thing. This is kind of like a face palette. Now, you can buy these individually. However, they kind of come as though you're expected to put them in this kind of packaging. These containers, this is a Surratt compact. Their system is sticker based. It's not magnetic. If you are someone who likes magnetic palettes, you can put some of those stickers on the back and then put them in your own magnetic palettes, but surratt system is stickery. This is Peau de Pêche. In the center is Barba Papa, and then on the bottom here is Gui Mauve. As you know, Barba Papa, it's like still my favorite blush shade. The sad part is I often don't reach for it because it's inside of here. And something I would like to see from Surratt in the future is either package your blushes in their own compact already, or make a compact that only holds one blush, because right now the smallest one is this one, and this one would hold 2 of their blushes. And I know that some people would probably like having 3 blushes in one, especially if you're traveling, but for me, the way I think about my blushes is each compact is its own blush. And when I look in my drawer, when I look at this, I don't even think about any of the 3 because I like know there's more than one in there. But when I look at the other compacts where I like know what colors inside, I just don't use these as much as I would like to. The blush formula is excellent. It's one of those blush formulas that's really, really hard to mess up. It's incredible. You know how whenever you put a cream blush on, it like blends out just so much smoother than like a powder blush will? Not saying that like even like a good powder blush, like a cream still just like blends and melts into the skin. This formula does that. These blushes do that. They have this slurry technique whenever they make their bronzers, blushes, and eyeshadows. It's a very like special technique that they do. So like that's kind of like why their powders feel really different. If you want to see swatches of those, again, I'm gonna just refer you to the other video. I also have somewhere to be after I record this video, so I just don't have the most time to be like swatching everything for you, so I apologize. When we get to the highlighter, I will. And then I also have the Artistique liquid blushes. I had one additional one. I gave that to a friend, and it's her favorite blush. I'm so glad I did that. It was the shade Classique, which is like this deep pink shade that I just feel like made me look like a clown. And it's funny because like I am more into pink now than I was when I first got Classique, but I have tried it since I like borrowed it back from my friend, and I was like, this shade does not work for me. I think it's just the warmth because of how warm the shade is. These came with a sponge tip applicator. I ripped it off. These are like twist up, and if the sponge was still on there, it would come out of the sponge. You can like tap it on your cheek. But I have the shade Barba Papa, which is the shade we'll be using today, and I also have the shade Cantaloupe. I had the powder version of Cantaloupe. It wasn't as good as the liquid one. What I like about these are like watercolor blushes. I find that a lot of times, at least in the market right now, whenever someone says a liquid blush, they mean something incredibly pigmented that's going to be really hard to blend out. I'm thinking of the blushes from Rare Beauty, but I feel like liquid blushes by like makeup artist brands or designed for makeup artists tend to be more of this kind of watercolor thing that you're seeing here. And the thing is, these formulas are so easy, and their level of pigmentation makes them really, really easy to work with, that it's like it never becomes clown. There's Barba Papa. Has a nice sheen to it already. And we're going to put highlighter on top of it.
Gagatron.
Super gag right there. I love this formula. When it comes to the liquid blushes, I also overlook them, even though I think that they are one of my more favorite formulas. With Surratt blushes, at least the shades that I have gotten the opportunity to try. There's one shade in the powder called Grisaille that I want, and I haven't bought it yet. And I haven't begged them for it yet either, but it's like always on my radar. Like, I really want to try Grisaille. I feel like a lot of their blushes are like colorful, even if they're like watercolory. And I also kind of feel that the powder versions are also a little watercolory. Like, I don't, like, you're not going to get like clown cheeks, like unless you try really hard, unless you're also, or if you're using one of the shades that's like maybe a little bit too deep for your skin tone. I tend to rely on like nudie blushes as opposed to a blush that's like a color. So I just find that Surratt shade selection when it comes to blushes is just like, oh, it's a little too colorful for me. It's like, oh, a little bit too much color, even though they're not. Like, that's really subtle. I could wear that with probably even a warm toned look and it wouldn't look too crazy. Let's talk about the highlighters. I want to talk about the packaging real quick because the packaging is the exact same as the blushes. However, there is a difference. The Surratt branding on this one is silver and shiny, and the Surratt branding on the blush is not. So I don't know if they're going to move to this altogether and this is like the new packaging, or if this is specific to the highlighters. And then if you're storing them upside down, the bottom of the highlighters is like a shiny color, and then the bottom of the blushes is matte. So it can help you look a little bit faster if you have a lot of them. And the stickers are color coded. And the stickers are color coded on both of them. And maybe whenever I put these back in my drawer, I'll store them upside down, which like I never thought about until I was talking about it just now. I received 2 of the 3 shades. There is a third shade. Whenever they offered them to me, they sent me like this like PDF pamphlet of like what the colors were going to look like. That just looked like it was going to be more suitable for deeper skin tones. I didn't need to try it. I didn't need to swatch it for you. I believe my friend Colin got it. So if you want to check over their channel, if I get the opportunity to be selective about colors, I'm going to be selective about colors. So I chose the two ones I thought were going to work for me. So whenever I initially saw that they were releasing liquid highlighter, I thought finally something to replace my Charlotte Tilbury Spotlight wand. And I thought Lame would be that, but it isn't. As Surratt tends to do, it's a formula that's a little bit confounding, but I really like it. The packaging is the same as the blushes. So this is the sponge tip applicator that I took out of my blushes. And so that's what it looks like. So there's just a hole in the center, and that's where the product comes out of. I'm gonna try to do a thick swatch. These are actually pretty thin. So that is Frau Frau. It is like the pinky pearlescent offering that they have. Lame. So when I've actually recorded this video once already, and I had trouble trying to figure out how to show them to you, but there are two different shades there. I feel like Frau Frau is like a little more obvious, and like hopefully you can see that. So I really thought that these were gonna be like the Spotlight wand. Like I thought that they were gonna be, not that I thought Surratt was like gonna copy Charlotte Tilbury, but I thought that they were gonna be like a similar idea, and they're not at all. The formula is really thin. There is a base pigment, but it's pretty sheer. Like obviously you can see that that leaves like a pink, a little bit of like that pinky iridescence, but that's not it blended out either. Like this would be like a thick unblended swatch of this. So when it's blended out, you can barely see that. And there are like shimmer particles in here. And so I thought, I'm just so confused about like what this might look like on. They look super, super elegant on the cheek. They look so elegant on the cheek. I've worn them in two different videos, I think. So Critical Sass, I was wearing Lame. If you caught my highlight there, that's what I was wearing. And I wore, I wore Frou Frou somewhere. Even if I wore it, maybe I didn't wear it in a video and I just wore it out. They set down after they'll dry and they'll set down. The shimmer will obviously like move around a bit, but like the where you laid it down, it's like not gonna move. Of the highlights that I currently own, it is most akin to the super loaded highlight from Westman Atelier. I have the shade Peau de Rosé. It has more of a base pigment than the ones from Surratt, because I thought maybe it might look a little bit like Frou Frou. Do you see how much like more pigment? I'm saying that like very loosely, how much more pigmented, but it also has like a shimmer that kind of goes through it. So it's like that. The only difference would be is that this kind of stays emollient on the cheek. Like I don't think it ever really sets down. That doesn't bother me with my current hairstyle. Like it's short, like nothing's falling into it. That's not normally a deal breaker for me, unless I'm going to get my hair cut and I forget, which has happened before. Me wearing like a bunch of emollient creamy stuff and then like there's just hair all over me. But that's the closest I've got. And I will say, the Westman Atelier super loaded highlight, they're all pretty deep minus Peau de Rosé, but like the other shades are like too dark for me. And like, I don't know what to do with them. They're a little bit strange. If you watch Michelle Wong, she has a very specific way she likes to use them. She kind of like primes her cheek with them, which I do, but I also can use this one as a highlight just fine. Then I also have the Chanel Balm Essentiel, which is also a very light highlighter. Again, it's a balm. There is some shimmer particle in there, but where you're really getting the shine in the Balm Essentiel is in the fact that it's a balm. And it also doesn't really set down, but it looks really beautiful on the skin. This is something that isn't really I wear a lot on camera, but I wear it a lot when I go see friends if I haven't just filmed a video like I am right now. And then I also have Surratt's other like cream liquid highlighter. This is the Torch Lumiere in the shade Diamante. And this is actually my favorite cream highlighter right now. This actually took me a moment to fall in love with, but as you can see, it's like a whole different thing. This is like super shiny. It also has shimmer particles in it, but they're much more consistent. Like you're getting straight shimmer kind of going in it, where it's more twinkly in the new highlighters, the new liquid highlighters. It's just a very different thing. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I want Rose Diamante. I will buy it. I will gladly buy it. Like I love this formula a lot. It's beautiful. I don't need Rose Diamante now. I have like a lot going on when it comes to highlighter, but I wouldn't be opposed to having it, but because I really, really like this. You can pat this on with your finger. You can drag it on your face, which works. I don't recommend that though. And then I also like to just take a brush into it and just like pat it on top of, Shut up. Figured we could talk about it while we're talking about a bunch of surratt stuff. But I want to show you, this is really why I thought surratt finally made something to replace the Charlotte Tilbury. They sure didn't. The Torch Lumiere is closer. The Torch Lumiere does set after a bit. The Charlotte Tilbury also sets. That's more of like a traditional kind of highlighter. These are sparkly. They're just different. Not intensely sparkly. Don't think metamorphic highlighters from Ritual Defy. If you are familiar with those, it's like turn the volume all the way down and then you've got surratt. So like just some sparkle, just a little bit of sparkle. So I'm gonna put Frau Frau on top of Barba Papa and I'll show you. I'll try to like catch it. It's almost imperceptible. Like I feel like it's such a weirdly natural looking highlight even though it has like the sparkle in it. As always, surratt has made something that confounds me. Complete aside, I think I bought the wrong thing. This is not to do with surratt at all, but I'm thinking about it right now and I would like to ask the class. I've heard so many times that the Bioderma micellar water is like the best micellar water one could buy. I didn't realize there were multiple options. I bought the Sensibo H2O, the one with the pink cap. I hate it. I'm almost halfway through it. When I tell you the micellar water I had before this, which was the Drunk Elephant one, I received it in gratis and I was going on year 3 and I hadn't even used the whole thing up. It was like thick and kind of like mucusy and I liked that, which I'm okay with it being a water, but like it removed makeup so much better than this. Like, did I buy the wrong one or should I just go back to the Drunk Elephant because I kind of hate this? Like I said, I'm gonna apply Frau Frau or Frou Frou and I'm just gonna tap it onto the skin with the sponge. You can blend it out with the sponge. That's not my gig. I'm just gonna take my finger and tap it in. So that's with. This is without. It's so scrummy. Oh, this isn't a first impressions. I hope the way I talked about the highlighter made that clear. I'm pretty into them, but I'm wondering, as I always wonder when I'm testing out a makeup product, if it will live in my head rent-free. They are kind of now just because they're so new, but there it is. I'm gonna zoom you in so you can get a good look at it. My secret just happened. My secret truth. Okay. I talked about it the last time I filmed this video and I want to talk about it again because I want to discuss it with you. Like we can have an open dialogue about this. I want to grow my hair out. I want to do a shag. I want to keep baby bangs because I love my little baby bangs. And I'm going to also carve out around my ear because I don't really like hair touching my ear. And I just like hair in the back. And the reason I went down here, I went hair. I just want hair everywhere. But shag, choppy. So many layers. I want to be able to do pigtails. I had to talk about this to my hairstylist, but I think it's the fantasy I want to serve. I think it'd be a star. Like, I think it'd be a little star. But the reason I brought this up is because long hair habits die hard. When I was 16, I had hair down to my titties. And it wasn't cut well because I just was like not letting people touch my hair because I knew if my parents got me to the hair, got me to get my hair cut, they would like force the person to like cut my hair off. And I didn't want that. And like, I also at the time did not have the vocabulary to like know what to ask for from a hairstylist. And I was also going to places like Fantastic Sam's. So it's like a completely different thing. And if Fantastic Sam's your gig, love that for you. But it's not like my mom was going to take me to like a place where it would cost a lot of money for me to get my hair cut. So I was just kind of like sailing on a ship alone with my long hair. But now I have the means to like do it myself and do it like with my hairstylist. But like I said, hair habits die hard. Since I've gotten this little bit of my mullet going, I will do this, collect all of my long hair, and I will pull it as if I'm going to pull it to the side. It's going to sit here. I do it all the time with this little bitty bit of hair. Like, I do it all the time. I also still do this. I haven't had hair that touched my ear for a really long time, but I still do it. Sometimes I do it for dramatic effect to be the drama. But like most of the time I'm doing that, it's just like muscle memory. And I have not had long hair since I was 16. It's been a long time. So why do I still do that? Psychologists, join the chat. I'm going to powder my face and then we will move on to some other things. And as I'm powdering my face, I'm just avoiding where all the glossy stuff is. I'm going to leave that alone. I'm not trying to set that down. All right, let's move on to bronzer. Last year, Surratt released a bronzer range. They released 2 shades of bronzer, which is like trash. I had both of them and I kept shade Soleil Dew. The other shade Soleil Claire. If I remember correctly, it was either too red or too yellow, and I can't remember, but this one was like more neutral, a little more down the middle of the two shades. It was much more wearable for me. I would say the other shade was maybe more suitable for someone with a little bit of a deeper skin tone for me. Not deep, just a little bit like medium. Just like the blushes, it's the same kind of formula, melts into the skin, looks really good. And I think for a long time I just wasn't using this bronzer because I resented it, and I still resent them for not just to. And then recently I thought about decluttering it, and I just started using it again to just like kind of see how I felt about it. Guess what? I love it, unfortunately. I've been using the Gucci bronzer all winter, and it was like my favorite bronzer all winter. And then I started using this as the weather has been getting warmer. And I just think that this is really like the kind of bronze I'm looking for right now. If I had done this video a couple months ago, I would have said that this bronzer was not getting good use in my makeup collection, but within the last couple of months, I've started using it really, really regularly. I really like it. I really like it. It's not a fussy formula just because all of Surratt's powders aren't super fussy. It's really gorgeous. Unfortunately, it's really gorgeous, unfortunately, because I really wish I could say the bronzer has a terrible shade range and it's like a terrible product. Surratt, just make more. Make 6 shades more. Make so many, and like go there, go deep. If you're not gonna do that, then don't bother, Jesus. But it is a beautiful bronzer. Every time I would get to a declutter, I'd be like, I'm just gonna hold on to it a little bit more. And I'm glad I did, because it eventually like kicked in and I was like, okay, I actually really like it. You can see the usage. You can see that my brush has been in there quite a bit. We're starting to actually make a dent in it. When it comes to bronzers, that doesn't really happen to me often, so you can definitely like see that I've been making progress on it. All right. Now we're to eye product. So I have a couple different eyeshadow products from Surratt. We'll start with the ones that I'm not going to be using today, and those are the souffle eyeshadows. I have 2 of the shades still in my collection. I had 3 at one point. I couldn't even tell you what the name of the shade I decluttered was. And at one point I had 2 nuage d'argents because I went to an event. So Pluie Mauve is my favorite. And these are really interesting, and I still use these all of the time. These launched late last year. So you can see there used to be like a nipple in the center, and these are really weird. If you want to see me like interact with them more and see swatches of them, I'll link a video up here for you to check out, because I'm not going to do that in here. But I will just tell you my experience with them is that I really, really like them. I have really oily eyelids. The oils on my lids must work different than other people's oils, because I was just watching my friend Stephanie, the style assembler, talk about the About Face paints. And she was like, they don't crease on me. And I was like, oh my God, they do crease on me, and kind of fast. But I also know that a lot of things work different on Colin, Queer Bones. Like, they also have different issues with eyeshadows than I do. But these actually have pretty good longevity for me. Like, they don't start creasing until past the 4-hour mark for me. And that's even without primer on the lids. But when I put primer on the lids, they last pretty much like a full 8 hours. There's Nuage d'Argent. That's like a nice taupe with some gold flecks. I really like these. They're really super simple. They're super weird. I think I like the weirdness of them, but I also like the sheer sparkly with a slight bit of base, because they're not really dramatic. You think that they're going to be, and then they're super easy to use. So I use Pluie Mauve like all the time. Pluie Mauve gets the most play. Nuage d'Argent isn't as special to me because it's like taupe, and it's like, not that it's not a beautiful taupe, but it's like I have a lot of taupe. Like, I would probably reach for Elephant from Chantecaille before I would reach for this if I was like wanting to go taupe. If I was going to go totally taupe, that's what I would choose. But Pluie Mauve is like this purple with green sparkle in it. It's really, really beautiful. So I really, really love the heck out of these. I really get a lot of use out of these. But now let's talk about their other eyeshadows, their powder eyeshadows, which I have the opposite problem, meaning they do crease on me and they crease on me pretty quickly. So these are some of their powder eyeshadows. They sent me a random assortment. They actually did a pretty good job sending me some stuff. So I got like these 2 more neutrals in here, and then a purple, and then these, I think they call these their interstellar shades, or these really sparkly ones. So fun. I've said this before, and I will say this again. Surratt eyeshadows, I think, are designed for people who have dry eyelids and a lot of texture on their eyelids, because these formulas like blend themselves on your eyes. They're like a no effort formula. The easiest eyeshadows I've ever used, kind of eyeshadows. I don't think they're really designed to do like a lot of structure. So if you're like into one and done, or like maybe doing a 2 for a slight bit of, depth, I think they're really good for that. But I think if you're someone who like will take an eyeshadow palette and like use every shade and like work it into your, I don't think that's what these eyeshadows are designed to do. And I really like them for that quality. Everything I'm telling you would probably make you believe that I think that they are bad eyeshadows. That's not true. I just think they were eyeshadows that weren't designed for my eyes. And with all of the faults that I find in them, in their performance on my eyes, which again is like a me problem because I have friends in the space who also have tried these eyeshadows and no one else seems to have that issue but me. So it's very much a me problem, but we're going to make a really pretty impactful look with just a couple of the shades. I will have the shades of all 6 of them listed down below in my like links section. I don't know them. This has now existed as a palette long enough, and unlike my blushes, which I did label the back, I did not label the back of these. So I'm going to go into this lighter brown shade. I'm just going to sweep that all over as a transition. Maybe not right directly on the lid. Look at how that just blended itself. And just like, look at how forgiving it is. I feel like they really blur the lids whenever you use them. They're just really easy to work with. I'm going to go in with a smaller blending brush and I'm going to go into the brown. Now, none of these shades are like purely matte, which might also lend to the fact that they are so easy to like blend out. There's just a soft sheen to them, but like when you look at them in the pan, they are kind of like sparkly looking. I feel like other than the ones that are really meant to be sparkly, I don't feel like that's how they read on the eyes. They don't read as a pure matte either, but they read, I don't know, just as like a satin, I guess would be the right thing. But not the kind of satin you would probably put all over your lid, just as a soft sheen. The next shade I'm actually going to apply with my finger. It's this blue shade up here. So if you just use like a regular eyeshadow brush to apply it, it doesn't really get the impact that you can get from it. It keeps it kind of sheer. And I don't think you're going to get the most impact with it, but do you see how like sheer that is? If you take your finger and apply this shade, you get a little bit more. You're not going to get Cleona, you're not going to get like Bella Beauty Bar vibes from it, but like you're going to get something. It's just so sophisticated. It's just such a sophisticated looking duochrome. It's so pretty. And I'm not really into blues like this, but I think the sheerness of it like makes me like it a little bit more. There is something to be said for something that has a little bit less impact. Like it just makes it a little more wearable. This like sheer duochrome. Really special. I really, really like them. Again, I know I complained about how these shadows are like not a perfect fit for me, but I would like more. I really would like more, especially of the sparklier shades because I'm just like into that kind of thing. I would buy more. I'm taking the white shimmer and I'm just applying that to the inner corner and then blending it up. Beautiful. So there's the eye look. I'm going to line my eyes and then put on mascara. I'm going to be using the Releve mascara. It's past its prime, so we're not going to focus too much on it. I will just say that it is my favorite mascara and I have bought it since I received it in PR. I really like it. But what I will tell you is this has been open since the very beginning of the year and it needs to be replaced. I don't have any lip products from Surratt, so I had to make a judgment call. I'm going to use Love Potion from Pat McGrath. And since I'm going out, I'm going to finish with the All-Nighter Setting Spray from Urban Decay. Here's the final look. I would say they're looking kind of cute. They're looking kind of cute. Yeah, so as you can see, most of my Surratt products are pretty much in regular rotation, whether I'm using them on camera or off camera. And I stand by everything I've kind of said about them in passing in my review. I really like a lot of what they do. But like my criticisms of them also stand with their shade ranges and their packaging being weird. But I do have a code with Surratt. It's HAUT15. That would save you 15% on anything. Unless they're doing a sale, it won't work on top of a sale. But I will have affiliate links down below if you are interested in purchasing anything. As always, there's no pressure to ever buy something. If you are really happy with your makeup collection, don't let me sway you. I hope I provided some helpful information about the new highlighters. So if you are new to my channel and you're not yet subscribed, I'd love to have you subscribe. My channel does this is a lot of what I do. whether it's Surratt or whether it's not a brand review or anything like that, I really like to reflect on how I'm feeling about the makeup that I already own. Obviously, I like to try and review some fun new stuff as well. I get some stuff sent to me in PR. I also buy things to review. If you are looking for a channel that's going to help you be more discerning about your makeup purchases, I would love to have you subscribe. Make sure you like this video, share it with anyone you might think will find this interesting. I have Instagram. I'm at hautemesstom over there. And I also have Patreon and channel memberships. There's no pressure to join those. I know that money is tight right now for everyone. I completely understand. But over there, I do some additional content, and it's just a different way to support me. It's not technically a better way to support me. I do appreciate all my current members and patrons. You really keep this going. You really, really do. That wraps up the video. Remember to follow your hoe, and you'll find me. And I'll see you in a video very soon. Go forth. Tits out.